So, my partner and I originally planned to head over to Xiamen to get a mainland phone number and a temporary driver's license. But since my partner had never been to Kinmen and really wanted to hike its only minor peak, Mount Taiwu, well, that's how this Kinmen trip, filled with summer night breezes, all kicked off. This time, we stayed at the XUP Xian Ancient House. It's actually a designated county historic site. Built during the Tongji era of the Qing dynasty, it truly shows the spirit of traditional Minnan architecture. The layout is incredibly structured. Those swallowtail roofs and red brick walls look especially ancient and beautiful in the quiet of the night. The next day, we rode our scooter across the massive Kinmen Bridge to Little Kinmen and started our island tour. Our first stop was the 3-story taro restaurant to try their delicious taro shaved ice. Then we walked over to the neighboring Brave Fort, which connects to Iron Man Fort. Brave Fort covers about 1,497 square meters, along with Iron Man Fort and the Hangtugu fortified outpost in Huangquo. These were crucial defense strongholds for the Qinli Channel back in the day. Inside, it's now been turned into a landmine museum, giving visitors a real sense of those tense wartime years. Malgong stones are these reddish-brown, iron-rich rock formations unique to Kinmen's north coast. They often form pretty striking landscapes due to sea erosion. Looking out from the platform, you can clearly see the skyscrapers of Xiamen right across the water. Hey there! Are you one of Kinmen's famous fresh beef carriers? But you're so beautiful, I'd hate to see you get eaten. Shuangkou Coast is the closest beach in Kinmen to Xiamen. The General Li Temple was built to honor an official who fought off pirates back in the Yuan dynasty. Xiaobaiyue is located on the westernmost tip of Laoyu. It's a tunnel carved right out of granite gneiss. This is also the absolute best spot to look out at Daydan and Erdan Islands. Aside from the military history, the wooden boardwalk extending from Xiaobaiyue is a huge hotspot for photos, especially under the midsummer sun. The way the coastline blends with the deep blue ocean is just magnificent. It's so calm and peaceful here, paired with the crescent-shaped beach. It has this really unique, serene beauty. Jong Tunnel is located in southeastern Little Kinmen, also known as Taiwu Tunnel. It was excavated in the 1960s to supply goods and provisions during the war. This entire tunnel was carved out of incredibly hard granite gneiss bedrock. Soldiers back then blasted it out using just basic tools and dynamite. It really shows the sheer hardship and incredible craftsmanship of military engineering from that era. Its scale is actually even larger than Zia Shan Tunnel on main Kinmen. Jong Tunnel features an A-shaped design with 4 different entrances and exits that lead straight out to the sea. It served both to shelter personnel and supply small boats. When the tide rushes into the tunnel, the light and shadows reflect off the rough granite walls, creating a truly unique military aesthetic. It's the perfect place to experience Kinmen's underground battlefield vibe. The tunnel stays damp year-round, and parts of it are right next to the water. So definitely watch your step while walking. Now, let's take our time and just take in the unique atmosphere inside. go through the big main doors ahead on the left. Wow, this massive granite cavern is an absolute eye-opener. This place was actually converted into the Taiwu underground hospital once. Today, it showcases the geology and ecology of Little Kinmen. It goes into detail about Taiwu's unique granite gneiss geology, the coastal Malgong stones, and the local wildlife, like migratory birds such as cormorants and blue-tailed bee-eaters. Over the past 2 days, the birds we've spotted include hoopos, white-throated kingfishers, blue-tailed bee-eaters, peacocks, greater cuckoos, crested minus, quite a few species that are pretty rare to see in Taiwan. We can't go in over there. That's the history gallery. General Fort is the perfect spot to look out at the Kinmen Bridge. If you come here at night, you can see the whole bridge lit up. Otters about! Please drive carefully! After exploring Little Kinmen, we headed back to our historic guest house. Time to take a quick shower and really appreciate the architectural beauty of this old place. I'm not sure if it's because it's a weekday, but we're the only guests staying here these few days. So we get the entire courtyard to ourselves. After a good rest, we're heading out to the eastern half of the island. Look at this wind lion god standing on a wine jug wearing a cape. So cute. Otter Park. Xiaobaiyue Old Street and Jinsha Theater are located in Jinsha Township. It's one of the oldest commercial streets in Kinmen. The history of this old street actually goes all the way back to the Yuan dynasty. Jinsha Theater was built in 1963. It was funded jointly by the local Kinmen government and private investors back then. During the years of military confrontation across the strait, tens of thousands of troops were stationed in Kinmen. Xiaobaiyue Old Street was the main commercial hub of the Eastern Peninsula back then, and Jinsha Theater was the most popular leisure spot for both soldiers and locals, with TVs and VHS tapes becoming popular in the late 1980s. Plus, the massive military downsizing. The number of troops dropped drastically. Jinsha Theater eventually closed its doors around 1987. Today, the theater is registered as a historic building in Kinmen County. After being renovated, it now serves as an exhibition hall. This mansion was built in 1935, personally supervised by a Malaysian Chinese, Zhong Wendy, who returned home. Out of filial piety, hoping to bring his parents back to their hometown to spend their retirement years. It's a classic, 2-story, 5-bay arcade, Western-style building. It's massive and beautifully decorated, featuring rich stucco work, patterned tiles, and stone carvings. The craftsmanship beautifully blends Southeast Asian colonial influences with traditional Minnan aesthetics. Shortly after the mansion was completed, the War of Resistance against Japan broke out. It was taken over by the Japanese military and later the Nationalist Army as a headquarters and barracks. The descendants of the Zhang family later donated the mansion to the Kinmen County government, turning it into a public cultural asset. In recent years, the Bureau of Cultural Heritage and the county government worked together, investing a big budget into a full restoration, which was completed between 2022 and 2023. Mount Zushan Artillery Position, also called Shangho Artillery Position, is Taiwan's only remaining fully tunneled howitzer emplacement. It's one of the most popular military tourism spots in Kinmen today. Famous for its powerful 8-inch howitzer drill show. tucked away in the rugged Wuhu Mountains, on the northeastern corner of Kinmen. It holds a very strategic position. It used to be called Jong Tunnel, meaning all-inspiring power to guard the east and strike fear into the enemy's heart. Every day, staff dressed in military uniforms perform the 8-inch howitzer drill at set times. It feels incredibly real and intense in person. This is the US-made 8-inch howitzer. It's massively powerful, with a shell weighing up to 91 kilograms. Its blast radius can cover an entire football field. Next, we headed out to the Zushan coast. This is a hidden gem that most tourists don't really know about. The entire shore is covered with these massive, colorful granite rocks. Walking in here feels like stepping into a totally different world. You can clearly see the high tide marks on the rocks. So you really need to keep an eye on the tides when visiting. These massive rocks have been shaped by millions of years of ocean waves. They are masterpieces formed by tectonic shifts and sea erosion. From this angle, it looks just like a warrior roaring up at the sky. This place is a secret sanctuary completely away from the crowds. It makes you feel invincible and full of energy. The sand here is incredibly fine. It was formed over ages as water and wind wore down these giant boulders. Every single rock has these stunning patterns on it. They're like pieces of art made by nature. In fact, the entire island of Kinmen is basically one giant granite rock. The rocks are rich in minerals like feldspar, quartz, and iron. As the iron in the stone leaches out and oxidizes in the air, it weaves these beautiful weathering patterns of orange, red, yellow-brown, deep coffee, and sandy gold on the surface. Set against the deep blue ocean and white sandy beach, these warm colors look incredibly striking, giving it almost an exotic, desert island kind of vibe.
We don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore. We don't talk anymore like we used to do. We don't laugh anymore. What was all of it for? We don't talk anymore like we used to do. I just hope you're lying next to somebody how to love you like me. There must be a good reason that you're gone. Every now and then I think you might want me to come show up at your door. But I'm just
We were planning to have Liangjin Pasteure's fresh beef for dinner. But by the time we got there, they were already closing up. Most shops in Kinmen close pretty early. So we had to head over to the busiest area in Jincheng town to hunt for food. This Miaoko Da Pai Dog spot was actually pretty tasty. Woke up bright and early the next day. The main highlight of our Kinmen trip is hiking the only minor peak located outside of mainland Taiwan. Here's our hiking route. We start from the trailhead at the Yuzhang Road Soldiers Memorial. Past the famous "Forget Not That We Are in Jurok" inscription, head to Haiyin Temple, then scramble up the rock face next to Taiwu Pond. We'll hit the east peak of Mount Taiwu, and finally make our way to the summit trail mark. It's a nice little loop trail. The early morning glow is painting the sky with so many vibrant colors.
Dress you're wearing tonight. If he's giving it to you just right, the way I did before.
We originally wanted to catch the sunrise at the summit, but looking at the time, I don't think we're going to make it. Well, let's stop by Haiyin Temple first for some free vegetarian porridge. And then we can explore this centuries-old temple with a peaceful, respectful heart. Haiyin Temple was historically called Taiwan Temple, nestled in a hollow at the summit of Mount Taiwu in Jinhu Township. It's an ancient Buddhist temple with over 800 years of history. It's not just the highest elevation temple in Kinmen, but also the most sacred and revered spiritual hub. For the people of Kinmen, Haiyin Temple was founded during the Xian era of Emperor Juzong of the Song dynasty, around 1811 to ERT6 AD. When it was first built, it actually worshipped the sea deity, immortal Tangyan, a popular deity from Guangzhou. Story goes that locals kept seeing visions of Guanyin Bodhisattva on Mount Taiwu at night. The villagers switched to worshipping Guanyin, turning it into a fully Buddhist temple. During the brutal August 23rd artillery battle in 1958, Haiyin Temple was almost completely flattened by mainland artillery. The main buildings we see today were rebuilt after 1960. Thanks to the combined efforts of military engineers and locals. It was officially designated as a county historic site in 1988. Every year on the 9th day of the Lunar New Year, for the Jade Emperor's birthday, the entire island of Kinmen, young and old alike, will bring their families to hike up Mount Taiwu to pray and give blessings at Haiyin Temple. This tradition has been going on for hundreds of years, making it the grandest traditional religious festival in Kinmen. The ancient stone chamber was where the very first monks who came to Mount Taiwu lived and practiced their Buddhist faith. The Peace Stone is said to sit right on top of Mount Taiwu's Dragon Pulse line. Leaving Haiyin Temple, we walk towards Taiwu Pond. The trailhead here next to the pond is pretty easy to miss. And we're rock scrambling again. This steep path of the bare rock face is a trail that not many people take. Even though it's quite steep, has no ropes, and there isn't really a clear path, the granite provides plenty of friction to keep you from slipping. But definitely don't try this on a rainy day. As we get higher, the view opens up more and more. Passing through a forest scattered with massive boulders. We reached a spot where the giant rocks split open. I'm guessing we have to squeeze right through this crack. Let's give it a shot and see. This path feels like it's heading into some unknown alien territory. I just hope there aren't any dead ends up ahead. Squeezing through the split in the boulders, the view suddenly opens up beautifully. This rock right in front of us is absolutely massive. Walking underneath it makes me feel like a tiny ant. The vertical cliff face is covered in orange, yellow, and green lichens. It's incredibly beautiful. Passing through a rock cave once more. And through some brush, we hit the east peak of Mount Taiwu and connect onto the Xiaobaiyue Ancient Trail. Up ahead is an abandoned military bunker. Heading towards the Yuan Dynasty stone inscription. And we've made it to the other side of the mountain ridge. Pushing on to the big bunker. A foe, Senliling degree view, the coastline, and the charming villages scattered around, nestled right into the grid-like fields. The scenery is just incredible. This big bunker is a bit higher than the peak of Mount Taiwu, so it must be the highest point in Kinmen. Standing on top of this weathered, lonely, abandoned fort, with a strong wind on my face, looking out as far as the eye can see. On one side is the home we're protecting behind us, and on the other side is Xiamen, right there across the water. I try to imagine being one of the young soldiers stationed here. Seems like a magnificent landscape to us today. But decades ago, when tensions were high, and stray bullets could fly at any second, for the soldiers keeping watch right here, every inch of this beautiful view must have felt like a suffocating, terrifying battlefield. Back in those days, with no smartphones, and barely any way to communicate, drawing the Kinmen-Matsu card for military service and coming to this isolated front line meant you were almost completely cut off from your family and loved ones back in Taiwan. Standing on the bunker, feeling the sea breeze, and watching the waves crash against the granite rocks over and over again, your mind would probably be racing with thoughts like, are my parents doing okay? Is my girlfriend going to break up with me while I'm away? Just looking at the distant shore, you'd probably get this crushing sense of loneliness, like you'd been abandoned by the whole world on this tiny island. We've reached the summit trail mark of Mount Taiwu. Elevation, 250 meters. The cool breeze blowing over us completely washes away all the sweat and exhaustion from the climb. On the way back, we took a quick flight of stairs up to the reflection tower. Word is, it was originally built back in the Song dynasty because the tower stands on such high ground. During certain seasons, when the setting sun hits it just right, its long shadow casts all the way down onto the sea below. That's how it got the name Reflection Tower. Even though it's been damaged by storms and war over the years, the stone tower we see today was carefully restored to its original look. It still stands as a silent witness to hundreds of years of Kinmen's history. Looking out from the viewing platform next to the tower, the coastal villages, the lush green fields, and the winding roads all line up perfectly like Lego blocks. It shows such a peaceful, quiet island vibe. Compared to the heavy historical feel of Beishan, the Nanshan settlement just across Shuangli Lake feels a lot more low-key and reserved and carries a deep sense of traditional everyday life. Nanshan has kept a ton of fully intact traditional Minnan two-courtyard mansions and red brick alleys. Strolling through Nanshan, you'll often see piles of oyster shells stacked up outside people's doors, and elderly folks sitting on stone benches shucking oysters. It's just beautiful daily life. If Jong Tunnel is the underground masterpiece of Little Kinmen, then Zia Shan Tunnel, located near Gugong Village on main Kinmen, is easily the most spectacular and breathtaking underground military supply waterway in all of Kinmen. Construction started to meet the frontline supply needs after the August 23rd artillery battle. Zia Shan Tunnel is mainly split into two parts, the main tunnel and the waterway, forming a giant A shape. The walking path is about 101 meters long and 6 meters wide, while the A-shaped waterway stretches 357 meters and is roughly 11.5 meters wide. Back in the day, this waterway could hold up to 42 small naval landing crafts, all at the same time. Today, besides being a must-visit wartime relic for tourists, it has a super romantic, modern identity. The Kinmen Tunnel Music Festival. The granite walls combined with the perfectly still water create a world-class natural acoustic echo. Every autumn, they host concerts right inside here. Musicians actually sit on custom-made bamboo rafts, floating slowly down the waterway while playing string music. The music echoes and resonates between the water and the massive rock walls. That ethereal, deeply moving audiovisual experience. draws countless music lovers from both home and abroad every year. Even if you don't visit during the music festival, the magical reflections of the granite on the water's surface are visually stunning all on their own. Next up is the Zushan settlement. If Beishan and Nanshan are known for their fierce war history and rustic oyster fields, then Zushan, tucked away in the southwest of Jincheng town, is a gorgeous traditional midden village famous for its incredible feng shui and delicate details. Walking into Zushan, the biggest eye-catcher is the massive pond right in the center of the village. Zushan has over 600 years of history, and the whole village is predominantly made up of the Shui family. In feng shui, this layout is called Four Waters Returning to the Pond, a blessed land for gathering wealth. On a clear day, the traditional houses with their red bricks and swallowtail roofs reflect off the calm pond, looking just like a beautiful ink wash painting. Because locals were highly successful in business in the past, money kept flowing back from overseas. This allowed them to build a massive number of beautifully crafted, grand traditional buildings. There's an old saying in Kinmen, Shuito has the wealth, but Zushan has the houses. It means that while the people of Shuito are incredibly wealthy, when it comes to how exquisite and beautiful the architecture is, nothing beats the houses in Zushan. Compared to other busy tourist spots, Zushan has this extra layer of peace and elegance. The alleys here are kept incredibly clean and tidy, and the red brick walls look so warm and classic under the Kinmen sun. If you love taking your time to appreciate Minnan pottery art, brick carvings, and beautiful plasterwork, or if you just want a relaxed afternoon stroll away from the crowds, Zushan is definitely a place you won't want to leave. Finally, we've come to the Shuito settlement. Shuito, also known as Jinshui Village, is an ancient village with over 700 years of history. Primarily settled and expanded by the Huang clan. Since Shuito is right by the coast, from the late Qing dynasty to the early Republic years, many villagers went out to Southeast Asia to seek their fortunes. Once they struck it rich, these merchants sent money back home to build grand, elaborately decorated Western-style buildings and traditional Minnan mansions. This has made Shuito the village with the most Western-style architecture in Kinmen, showcasing a beautiful blend of East meets West style. Once we leave Shuito, we're hopping on a boat straight to Xiaomen,